Today, we're looking at a pink ink by Caran Divine Pink. Hi, I'm Adam, and I'm an ink guy. There's timestamps down below so that you can skip around, but if you got the time, I would appreciate if you check out the entire video. Also, if you're interested, you can check me out over on Instagram, and if you're new here and like fountain pen inks, I would invite you to subscribe. In order to make sure I have a range of experience with this ink, I do the writing samples. I then put the ink into this Levenger True Writer with a broad nib. I used it to write for a day and to take my notes for this video. This first writing sample is done on a standardized set of paper of Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia. There are additional writing samples later in the video. Now, let's look at the writing sample. I picked this ink up in sample form, so it came in a vial like this. And to keep my writing samples consistent, I use a Jinhao 159 with a Goulet 1.1 stub, a Jinhao X450 with a Goulet medium, and a Jinhao X750 with a Goulet extra fine. Let's take a look at the Clairfontaine. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is a tad bit lighter than the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, some spots of shading that are occurring, not too bad, 3 seconds to dry, very fast. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine, with no feather spread, halo sheen, still a very nice spots of shading throughout the writing, 7 seconds to dry. The scrubby for both show really good color variation, and we did get it in the writing. Tomoe River. No bleeding, minor Tomoe River ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen. It does offer some shading. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, some nice shading throughout this writing, 6 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, not as dark as the stub, with no feather spread, halo sheen, very nice shading within the writing, 12 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both shows no color variation, although we do get it in the writing. Rhodia. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, a very nice shading shows up. The extra fine is a bit lighter than the stub with no feather spread, halo sheen, still very nice shading in here, 3 seconds to dry. Medium is the same tone as the extra fine with no feather spread, halo sheen, still a very good shading, 7 seconds to dry. Now the scrubby of the extra fine shows some color variation, the medium shows almost none, but it's not too bad in the writing itself. I agree with Vita. I've learned a lot by doing multiple chromatographies. The one on the left is done the way it's supposed to be done. I put a line of ink down and immediately put it into water for 10 to 15 seconds. And we see this is a very dark pink, probably too dark really for me. It pushes its way up and gathers at the top like you would expect any single dyed ink to do. The one on the right I let dry for 10 minutes before I dunk it in the water, and to be honest, if I hadn't marked the filter paper, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between them. Resistance tests are done to see how well this ink can be expected to perform on the page, and more importantly, how hard it may be to clean from your pen. Now, I let the smear dry for 3 days before testing it. Looking at the highlighter, I would not use this in a note-taking situation if I wanted to be able to go back and highlight because it's completely blown out. It just says hi, and that says it blurry. Now water is reactivating and lifting it, and on the very bottom edge of where the water is, you start to see the white of the paper coming through. Pen flush is doing everything that water does faster. You are easily seeing the white of the paper coming through. Now, it only took water to get this out of my pen. The 1/3 bleach solution, I didn't need to use it, but it did completely obliterate it from the page. I test viscosity or flow with a tilt test that I'll link down below in a description or in a card. Now for the inks I've tested, I have found an average viscosity of 2.5, with the realm of normal being from 2.1 to 2.9. Caran Divine Pink has a viscosity of 1.96, making it a wet ink. To find my average dry times, I use my writing samples done on Clairfontaine, Tomoe River, and Rhodia paper. I averaged those, and for the inks I've tested, I found an average dry time of 17 seconds, with a realm of normal being from 13 to 21 seconds. Caran Divine Pink has an average dry time of 6 seconds, making it a very fast drying ink. Instead of finding inks that look like Caran Divine Pink, I would prefer to find an ink that complements its color on the page. I went for a very nice blue in Krishna's Sailors. The second writing sample is done on Northbooks Fabriano and Apica CD paper. Here we're looking at the Northbooks paper. It's a much more absorbent paper than the others thus far. We have no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is it's just a little bit lighter than the stub. With no feather spread, halo sheen, there are just moments of shading. If you look at the word quick, it starts dark, gets a little lighter, gets a little darker. There are, like the X in Fox, it's just that it's not much darker. 1 second to dry. So it does have some shading with only 1 second. Now, the medium is about the same tone as the extra fine. With no feather spread, halo sheen, I'm not getting the shading here. 1 second to dry. Scrubby of the extra fine shows some color variation. The medium shows none, and that's what we got. Fabriano. No bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, and no shade. The extra fine is quite a bit lighter than the stub. With no feather spread, halo sheen, it does offer some decent shading spots in the writing. 2 seconds to dry. Medium is about the same tone as the extra fine. With no feather spread, halo sheen, it also offers some decent shading spots. 6 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both shows good color variation, and it shows up in the writing. Apica CD notebooks. With no bleeding, no ghosting. The 1.1 has no feather spread, halo sheen, a very nice shading. The extra fine is a bit lighter than the stub. With no feather spread, halo sheen, still a very nice shading throughout this writing. 3 seconds to dry. Medium is darker than the extra fine, just a tad lighter than the stub. With no feather spread, halo sheen, great shading in here. 6 seconds to dry. Scrubby for both shows a good color variation. The medium's not showing as well on camera, maybe up here. But we do get it in the writing, and that is all that I have for writing samples. So what do I think of Caran Divine Pink? While this ink tends to shade quite frequently and pretty nicely, I find that quite a lot it goes down very dark to where it could really pass as a red more than a pink. So what nib and pen give the best writing experience with this ink? I found that a medium flow broad or stub nib really brought out the shading in this ink. I do new ink reviews every single day, so if you're new here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.